What's up guys, I'm J-Man, and let's talk about the Disney smash hit Frozen. Based loosely on the book The Snow Queen by Hans Christian Andersen, Frozen went on to gross over $1 billion and won the critics over everywhere you looked. People were saying that it was revolutionary, a masterpiece, a great story about family and dreams coming true despite the odds. So why is it that a lot of people, including myself, felt so empty by it? Well, it's because the movie doesn't really accomplish the things that people think it does. So to start, film is all about execution. The way you present something determines how well you present an idea that you're trying to make. Frozen doesn't really do this. Instead, it banks more on the idea itself rather than fleshing it out organically. Take Olaf, for example. His purpose in the film is that he's meant to be the symbol of Anna and Elsa's relationship. The problem is, he never actually fulfills this. He never brings up any memories or moments that remind either of them of the relationship they used to have or try to restore their relationship in any way. To illustrate this point, let's look at Vanellope's car from Wreck-It Ralph. It's not only a tool for Vanellope to help accomplish her dreams, it also represents the friendship between her and Ralph. They built it together, they learned to drive it together, and when he destroys it, he's not only destroying her dreams, he's also destroying their whole bond that they've built. When he shows up with her car repaired, he's really offering his friendship back to her. Now let's look at Olaf. Anna and Elsa built him when they were little, so he's on the right track. After that, Elsa rebuilds him during Let It Go for some reason, and we never see him again until he accidentally runs into Anna and Kristoff. He doesn't really have much of a purpose to him other than lead them to the castle and then miraculously save Anna from being locked up. Oh, and he also has a desire to be in summer for some reason. He never does his narrative job and physically remind the two sisters of all the great times they shared as siblings. If I were writing the story, I would have had it so that instead of going back to town with Anna and Kristoff, which he didn't really need to do anyway, instead he could go back to Elsa's castle and talk with her about Anna and convince her to make amends. Maybe he could, I don't know, touch her head and give her all these flashbacks of them having fun building him and laughing and playing, and that could be the first step for her in getting over her fears and make her want to repair her relationship with Anna and try to melt the ice. People might make the argument that he reminds Anna what true love is and that's what sets up the whole climax. And that may technically be true, but ask yourself, would Anna still choose to save Elsa in that moment if Olaf didn't tell her that? My answer is yes, because we never doubted that Anna loves her sister. If Olaf represents any part of their relationship, maybe he should be the one to try to save it. And Elsa's whole conflict is pretty contrived as well. The whole time, she's afraid of herself and hurting her sister. But why is that though? When they were little girls, she accidentally hit Anna in the head with an ice blast. The trolls tell her that her power will only grow and that she must learn to control it. The problem is, at that point anyway, she already controls it just fine. She only ever did it when she and Anna were playing around, and hitting Anna in the head was just an accident, which Elsa perfectly knows.
It was an accident.
So there really is no good reason for the two girls to be separated for years, and Elsa has no reason to be afraid of herself at all. Instead, it's all about the idea of her being afraid. Now, I know some people might say that her powers grow more and more out of control as she grows up, but that's the thing though, her powers are kind of inconsistent in this movie. She controls them, she can't control them. She controls them, she can't control them. She controls them, she can't control them. The movie tries to give you the idea that love is the answer to fear. The problem is, it doesn't actually follow through with this logic until the very end. The movie says that if you show someone love, you bring out the good in them. Which is ironic because we've seen Anna show Elsa nothing but love throughout the whole movie, so why did she have to freeze for Elsa to figure out how to control her powers? It's because, according to the movie's own terms, the definition of love is being selfless for someone else. Which is really not what love is, but the movie needs to define it this way just to make you think it's actually accomplished something by the end. Except even that doesn't work because we've seen people be selfless for Anna earlier in the film and that didn't even work. And heck, even climbing a snowy mountain to find her sister and bring her home could be argued as selfless as well, so why doesn't that teach Elsa anything? Other things the movie tries to accomplish is the idea of relationships. The movie implies that characters have genuine relationships with each other, but doesn't actually show them having it. Take Anna and Kristoff, for example. When they first meet, they're bickering and disagreeing and just acting like two people who can't stand each other at all. Now, I get that the intention was that Hans represents perfect love while Kristoff represents imperfect love, the Prince Charming versus the everyman. However, the two leads in any love story need to connect on some level, otherwise it just doesn't work. With Anna and Kristoff, they never seem to connect on anything, and it's not even until this point where they actually have some kind of forced chemistry with each other.
Does it look bad?
No, you hesitated. No, I didn't.
And it doesn't even feel like it's about anything personal between them, it just feels like they suddenly like each other now. Even the very next song in the film, Fixer Upper, is really just a song to try to push them together so hard that it seems like it's just saying, they like each other. They're totally good for each other. The trolls don't know anything about Anna or why she's right for Kristoff other than she's a girl. So it's all about the idea that they should be together instead of letting it be natural. I mean, look at Eugene and Rapunzel. When they first see each other, you can tell that there's a certain interest in the other. They first start bonding when they tell each other something about themselves that nobody else knows. The moment they start falling for each other is when they show each other who they really are. But with Anna and Kristoff, Kristoff reveals who his family is, and that's about it. Anna looks at him adorably, but the movie tries telling us that they should be together, but we don't really feel that attraction emotionally. When I first saw the movie, I thought the best relationship in the movie was Anna and Hans. They hung out together, they bonded over things they had in common with each other, and I really felt a genuine chemistry between them. And honestly, I didn't really have a problem with the whole hasty marriage thing, mostly because the movie establishes that it's a fairy tale. It's a story with rock trolls and magic ice powers, so why would one hasty marriage be out of the question? It's because this is meant to set up a subversion of a trope for no special reason other than subverting a trope. This is even further illustrated when the big twist of Hans is revealed. Oh yeah, Hans is another thing. We never got the sense that he could want to take over the kingdom before it's initially revealed. It was banking more on the idea itself rather than showing it potentially happening. And some might think that in hindsight it was pretty obvious that he was plotting to kill the sisters and take over the kingdom. But see, here's the thing. Hans has been a likable and selfless guide to the kingdom throughout the whole film. Okay, so it was all just an act. Well, that's the thing though. Even in moments to himself, he showed no real signs of being a bad person. So did you really believe that he would actually kill someone by his own hand? Leaving Anna to die on her own is bad, but it isn't enough. Maybe he could have stayed with her to watch her die. If not just for his evil nature, then also to make sure that she's dead so he can proceed with his plans. Not to mention all the times he didn't need to keep up the facade and just kill Elsa already. It just seemed like the movie was defying all sorts of logic just to sweep the rug out from under us. If the idea was to make the handsome prince out to be the bad guy, then there's another Disney movie that already did it much better. You see, Gaston may not technically be a prince, but he's still the handsome, manly character who the whole town respects. He's a parody of the type of trope who is expected to be the hero and get the girl in the end. He doesn't need any kind of contrived twist, he has an entire character arc that makes him more and more evil. He goes from being a conceited buffoon who always gets what he wants, to a jerk willing to scheme and manipulate, to a straight-up villain who's willing to kill something just because it's in his way. We even already get the sense that he could be evil because the first thing we see him do is kill an animal. The first way in which we see him is in the shadows, and the first thing he says is, "I know," to someone giving him a compliment. The problem that a lot of people had with the twist in Frozen was that it felt so forced and contrived just for the sake of giving the movie a villain, which it technically already had. Even all the evil things he does after it's revealed felt so out of character for him that it seemed like the movie was trying way too hard to make him bad. It's only the idea that he's evil without the execution. And now we get to that one relationship that the movie wants to be about, but doesn't really accomplish. Anna and Elsa's relationship. This is the moment that almost everyone was floored by. True love can mean family love, not just romantic love. But do they even have any kind of relationship in the movie? For the most part, not really. The only time we see them actually having one is when they're little girls and they're playing in the snow. After that, the movie tries really hard to keep them apart for most of the movie. We can tell that they want to have a relationship again, but wanting one isn't the same as actually having one. So when Anna saves her and says that she did it out of love, it's a nice sentiment, but it doesn't feel earned because that love isn't really there. And if you were to say that it was, well then it's still anticlimactic because we as the audience wouldn't expect anything less from Anna. Furthermore, the movie tries to hammer in the idea that you don't truly love someone unless you know them, thus the whole subversion with Hans's character. But Anna and Elsa barely know each other at all anymore because they spent well over a decade apart. I'm not saying that Anna shouldn't have saved Elsa at all, but it just seems like the biggest payoff of this whole climax is they're sisters. That's it. In fact, by the time Anna and Elsa, and even Anna and Kristoff for that matter, can finally have an actual relationship, the movie is already over. Which is why, in a way, the movie feels less like a story and more like a really long setup to an actual story. So whenever people say that they really enjoyed this movie, it might be possible that they really only enjoyed the ideas in the movie. So those are my thoughts on Frozen. What do you guys think of it? Whatever it is, don't be shy, leave a reply. Also, be sure to follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and please support me on Patreon. All links are down below in the description. And if you like this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the J-Man. Keep looking deep.